the broadcast for a crowd kind of like this of what's supposed to be the first phone call, live phone call from heaven. And the whole world is going to hear a voice from heaven, and it's going to prove that there is a heaven just when it seems like he's figured out what's going on. And if I tell you any more, I'll ruin the book. So that's the story of the book.
I think it's a brilliant book. I enjoyed reading it. And how about For One More Day? You read that it was inspired by your own childhood? All his books, right?
You like that book?
Yes.
Well, I'm glad you like that book because...
You're nothing like the lead character, right?
Yes. That book was very autobiographical, even though it's a novel. Many of the stories in that book actually happened to me between me and my mother. And in fact, my mother, you might remember the story from that book. One time I was in a library when I was about 8 years old, and I wanted to take out a book, and I brought it to the librarian, but I was such a little scrawny kid that she took one look at me and she said, "This book is too hard for you, put it back." So I put it back because I did what I was told, and I took out a Curious George book, the book about the monkey. And my mother came to pick me up from the library because my mother was the one who taught me it's very important to read. You have to read, you have to read, every week you have to read. So she would take me to the library and force me in there every week. So she came to pick me up and I got in the car and she saw that I was holding a Curious George book. And she said, "Why did you get that book? You've read that book a lot of times." And I said, "Well, I wanted to get another book, but the librarian wouldn't let me take it." And she said, "Why wouldn't she let you take it?" And she said it was too hard for me. You know, the car came to a complete stop, and she backed it up and pulled back, and she grabbed me by the arm, and she marched into the library, and she pointed at the librarian, and she said, "Did you tell him that a book was too hard for him?" And the woman was all like, "Oh," and she said, "Well, he's so young." And she said, "Never tell a child that a book is too hard for him, and never this child." And then she grabbed the book and she shoved it in my arms and we left. I don't even think we paid for it, took it out. I think we just walked out.